I really believe the tables are turning now to get people to understand that skin health, not necessarily just from an aesthetic standpoint, but skin health from a medical standpoint is essential.
Welcome to the Beauty Talk podcast, where we feature how the best medical practitioners help their patients to look better, younger, and healthier. Now, enjoy the show, and here's your host.
Daniel Gao here. I'm the host of Beauty Talk, where we feature the top medical practitioners in health and beauty, both inside and out. This episode is brought to you by Edna Digital Marketing. To learn more, visit ednadigitalmarketing.com or email us at info@ednadigitalmarketing.com. Now, I have here with me Suzanne Freesemann of Advanced Skincare. She's been a physician assistant for 33 years, and after 15 years in primary care, she transitioned over to dermatology and has remained in dermatology for the past 18 years. She's the owner of Advanced Skincare in Fullerton and practices both medical and cosmetic dermatology. So Suzanne, great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, so let's get started. I'm really curious, how did you get into dermatology and aesthetics to begin with? What got your interest sparked in it?
So, 33 years ago when I started, I was doing primary care. And in primary care, there's a lot of dermatology. And I found that the advances being made in skin, not only from a cosmetic standpoint, but especially from a medical standpoint, were changing lives. And really, one in particular, psoriasis, which I found was very disabling to people, especially emotionally. The advances being made in that were tremendous. It was changing lives, and I could see that. And so that's how my interest in derm kind of, propelled me to just concentrate on that. And I don't think anywhere in medicine has really made the advances that skin has. And that's exciting. It was exciting to me. So initially, doing the medical derm, you have to face the fact that in order to treat the patient, comprehensively, that also includes some cosmetic or aesthetic derm.
Okay. And so you must have really enjoyed it. You're still in it 18 years later.
Oh yeah. They say, once you go derm, you're not going back anywhere. So I'm not leaving derm.
Okay. So you're in it for life then.
Yep.
Okay, so now that you've spoken about dermatology and the aesthetic side of it, what are some of the most popular treatments or services that you're offering at your practice, and why do you think it is that they're so popular?
Obviously, we have the standards. We have the neurotoxins, remove wrinkles. We have the fillers, that kind of stuff. But there seems to be new things all the time on the horizon. So right now, very popular are PDO thread lifts. I do a lot of those. Very popular. I think the gold standard of dermatology or aesthetics right now for skin maintenance, collagen building is also the radiofrequency microneedling machine. Okay. So those kind of fluctuate. There's your standards, and then the ones that come along, we just continue to improve on those. So those are some of the most popular ones for sure.
And what would you say for those two that you brought up in particular? In what situations would one work better than the other? Or for people who have never heard of what it is before, what is the condition or situation that they would be in? Each of those services would work best for them? Yeah,
so on the PDO thread lifts, everyone has seen them on social medias, but there really is truly an ideal candidate for it. It's those people that maybe notice a little bit more, our gravity is kind of winning the battle. So it changes our fat pad locations. So what those threads do is they just lift them back up to where they once were. So one of the most commonly requested areas is the neck. For women, neck is a tough place. So other than people don't necessarily want to go into neck surgery or neck lifts, it's expensive, there's a lot of downtime. And so it's that patient that is bothered by laxity, things falling, the nasolabial folds being heavy, that is a perfect candidate for the PDO thread lifts because they're not ready yet for the surgical options. So we can go in there in literally less than 45 minutes and grab those fat pads, replace them back up so it gives the cheekbones, it'll lift, along the jawline, and then we go in and do the same thing for the neck. So it's really a wonderful, innovative, treatment to avoid going under surgical procedures.
Okay.
Now, I think the important part of that is that skin quality really plays into the results for that. So what we do is, when we evaluate, say if someone comes in just for a thread lift, we have to evaluate, well, how's their elasticity? How is it going to rebound back? How's their skin quality? And often what we do is we will tag that with a complementary laser treatment or perhaps radiofrequency treatment to tighten up, get the best skin quality first. It's going to give us the best results on the tail end.
Yeah.
And we see that as just a win-win, right? It's a win for the patient, and it's a win for us, because ultimately my results, I'm very particular about them, and I want the best results possible. And if that means giving, lasers or doing a series of laser treatments with patients prior to doing threads, then that's often the case.
Yeah, so. It sounds also like your results are walking around everywhere. Your patients that you do the work for, that's your
right.
Perfect billboard for you.
Exactly. Now, as far as the radiofrequency microneedling, the reason that's so popular right now is because it is going to really give that skin maintenance. It stimulates the collagen, it stimulates elastin, both of which we stopped producing, in our late 20s. And so by the time you get to like my age, around here, we want all the collagen and we want the elastin. And it's not about replacing so much as it is just a maintenance of things. So that would help keep the skin from developing a lot of wrinkles and a lot of, lines and a lot of laxity and crepiness. So the radiofrequency heats up the skin. The needles, which are heated, go underneath and kind of create an injury basically under the skin, which then recruits all those reparative cells, the fibroblasts, the things that make up the collagens and the elastins and great skin health.
So yeah, that's really interesting. You explain how the radiofrequency works. I think a lot of people have heard about it, but they don't exactly how it works. So you being able to explain that, I think, really illuminates how it works for a lot of people. Now, Suzanne, you mentioned this a little bit earlier when you were talking about the threads, but I'd like you to go a little bit deeper in how you educate your patients on the service you offer. You mentioned you bring them in for consultations, the very first thing, and then depending on what they really need, you don't mind adding in a few things here or there to get them the best results. But how do you really approach the educational part of people coming in who want to learn about these different services?
So that is probably the most important factor in the overall patient experience and the overall patient satisfaction. It's getting them to understand the procedure and also the expectations. That's huge. And like I said before, there are ideal patients and there are less ideal patients. So it's important for us on the patient that may come in and we think, they may benefit more from a surgical approach, which is few and far between. Most of them will definitely get the improvement with the thread lifts. But it's important for us, it's incumbent upon us to tell the patient, hey, look, you know what? I don't think you're a great candidate. I think you'd be better off with this. Or perhaps this is why at this time you're not a great candidate. For instance, we get a lot of people asking about neck lifts or the neck thread lifts. But perhaps they just have a little too much weight or fat pockets down here. So we say, I think we need to first dissolve this fat. It's going to make it a lot easier for us to pull up, and your results are ultimately going to be much better. That's not the case with everyone, but it's really important that we help them understand what's going to get them the best results. Perfect example of that is also when people come in and they want a little bit of a brow lift, right? I almost always will Botox them first or put a neurotoxin in there first. Otherwise, I'm trying to pull up against muscles that are pulling down. We want those muscles relaxed. It's going to give us the best lift and the best results. So that's very important. And it's probably something that I've honed in on these years that I've been doing this, right? the importance of actually really getting them to understand and understanding the expectations that this may or may not cause a little discomfort, not in the office, but a few days. But it's really, there's not a patient that will come here that said, I didn't know, this, or, you know what, I should have listened to you. I should have dissolved this or done this first. But, ultimately we make that decision together.
Okay.
And that's important.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great way to approach it, because it's all about the transparency about this is what it is. And I think a lot of people, especially those who haven't done any type of aesthetic procedures before, there's a little bit of that fear there. So you being able to help walk them through that, make them feel comfortable, I think it's just critical to the success that you've had. Now, Suzanne, I'm sure that you've gotten some patients that come in and may be surprised by the prices, especially for some of these services that they may have never heard about. What has been your experience with some people that come in and they're kind of shocked by the price, or maybe they're trying to go somewhere else and get it cheaper? Like, what's been your experience with potential patients like that?
Well, and that's a really common occurrence. I like to think that I am priced very fairly. Okay. And I do inform them, could you get this procedure or that procedure elsewhere for a few $100s or whatever it may be cheaper? Yes. Let me explain to you why I price things the way I do. One is, I think after my 30 years experience in medicine, I think I've been able to really hone in on the fact that I can price point the things that I want to do to make it fair for patients. I have to make it fair to us as well. But I explain the products that we use, okay? We use superior products. There's no question. And, I also, I think it's important that people that look elsewhere and maybe these blowout prices, you're probably not getting people with 30 years of experience, and you're probably not getting the best products. And I've had this happen on a number of procedures, whether it be fillers. In fact, I just got a review from a patient last week, and she had come in and she had fillers because it was closer to her home, and I ended up having to dissolve them all. And she's like, I should have never went just because of the convenience of the proximity close to home. I knew what you guys delivered. I knew your abilities. I should have come back to you. And now, and she did. She's like, I'm never going elsewhere. Now, that's not always going to be the case, but I've had that happen on a few things. The thread lifts in general, or specifically, I should say, it's happened a couple times where people will, say, hey, I can get it, a little bit cheaper at such and such, right? And I tell them, do your homework. I want you to ask them, what threads are they using? Because I am such a believer that the threads and the products that we use will not get the same results. I've used those less expensive products because they've been, given, or just when I was first starting out doing them. And it's a world of difference. Are they more expensive? Yes, but it's going to prevent you from having to redo things. And I've had a couple people come to me after saying, well, I had these threads done 3 months ago and I feel like they've broken or they've dislodged. I've never had that happen with the products that we use.
So it sounds like you have some situations where someone tried to go the cheap route, but in the end they ended up paying more. They paid for the cheap one, and then they paid for the higher price one to get it fixed and get it done right the first time.
Exactly. And I think that there's no question to me when patients call around and they're shopping, which is their right, and they should do that. I think it's really, I'm very comfortable with them doing that because I know that I'm priced very fairly. Am I the cheapest? No, but I've also got a lot of experience and a lot of, and it builds up, it's the whole office, right? I've got great teams. I've got, great products in place. And this came from years of just not wanting to do it that way. Use really a lesser product, a cheaper product. I'm really a big believer in that. And if someone asks me about it, I can clearly explain why. And I can work with them. I work with people, to get it into what's comfortable for them, but still understanding that there's a value that should be based on experience and expertise and training and things like that.
Yeah, I've spoken to a lot of practices out there, and there's not many out there that have over 30 years experience in the medical industry. So I definitely think that's one of the differentiators of your practice compared to a lot of other people out there. Now, I know that some practices have teams, others it's just themselves. I know that you have a team. Would you say that your team is also one of those differentiators of what sets you apart from the other competitors?
Ooh, 100%. And that's really reflected in a lot of feedback that patients give, whether it's online or just verbally. Every part, and this, owning my own practice has allowed me to build the team I want, my dream team, I call it, right? Because it really starts right from the beginning. It starts from that first phone call. It starts from when they walk in the door. I want someone to be able to make them feel comfortable and welcomed, right? But almost every bit of feedback I get never mentions me solely. I shouldn't say never, but a large percentage of them, they mention myself and my team. And to me, that's way more gratifying, because that's going to make for a successful practice. Because if it doesn't matter how friendly people think I am or how skilled people think I am, right? If you come in the door, you don't feel welcomed, someone's rude bringing you back or whatever it may be, that's going to make the whole experience so unpleasant, they're not coming back. So I'm a big believer in every member of my team plays a role, an important role. Okay. And I see that on the feedback that I get from people.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I mean, I think this really ties well into kind of the next question I have for you. And I think your team plays a very big role in this, is how you're able to strike that balance between providing that relaxing, luxurious experience for your patients, but also making sure that you're ensuring their safety and well-being during the treatment. So how do you kind of strike that line between making sure they're having a great experience, but also making sure they're taken care of, and from a safety perspective, everything is okay for them?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously the safety, the professionalism comes first, right? And my team understands that. We have a lot of fun here. We get patients to laugh. We have them, they can play whatever music they want to play in every one of our rooms, right? You're not going to come in here and hear the elevator music or the traditional. You might hear country in one place and, other hip hop in another. And I think a lot of that is the cohesive personalities that we have. We have great personalities on our team. And I don't micromanage too much. I'm an office manager, right? And so they know that when I do bring up issues or when I do have things to discuss with them, they really take that seriously, because I'm not picking on every little thing. I don't have to. I feel like I put together a team that understands that this is a place I want them to be able to enjoy working. I want them to recognize the importance of safety, of patient experience. And I've just been able to kind of fine tune that, where that hasn't necessarily been always the case with every employee that I have, but everyone here on my team knows that patient experience is a big thing for me.
Okay, that's fantastic. Yeah. And I'm sure that you've been able to, you have a great team behind you, you have the experience to be able to tie that all together, but I'm sure that you've still gotten some particularly challenging cases in the past that you've worked on. So could you kind of explain maybe a particular challenging case you ran across and how you were able to achieve a successful outcome for that case?
Yes, of course we have those that, I figured out long ago, you want to try to please everyone, but that's just, no matter what we do, it's just not it's just not possible. However, every patient leaves here knowing this, regardless of what they have done, whether it's medical, cosmetics, and whatever in the cosmetic whole spectrum that we do. If there's something that you're uncomfortable with, if there's expectations that I didn't meet or we didn't meet, please, let's give this, a week or two, whatever, to kick in or to settle. If there's something you're unhappy with, come back. I'm going to take care of you. And whether that means, giving a little bit more of that procedure, or or talking them through the expectations and things like that. But I think it's so important that they know that if there's something they're not happy with, reach out to me. And I want to make it right. Doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes patients won't reach out to me, and they may or may not be 100% satisfied. But it's not because they don't know that that's an option for them. If someone's not happy with something that was done, and I can put a little small amount of effort into completely correcting it, I'd much rather do that easily, And so they'll know that. And I guess that's the only way that I can really, keep that balance.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just about, it really shows like care for your team, you care for your patients, you care for your business. And I think just the way you explained it, like wanting to try and make everything right, it's not gonna be perfect 100% of the time, but it's really in how you handle those situations. And the way that you've explained how you handle that, it's just, you show the people you care, and you do the best you can, even the ones that maybe aren't so happy, but you do the best you can to make them happy.
Yeah, and just a follow-up to that is that what I love to hear is that sometimes I don't get the phone calls if people are less than satisfied, right? My office manager will, but every single time I hear him say, "Let me talk to Suzanne," because she prides herself on patient satisfaction, and it kind of warms my heart every time I hear him say that, because he says it every time, and it's true. He wouldn't say it if it's true. I'd get upset with him, like, why are you telling people that, but he says it because it's true. I'm not going to please everyone 100% of the people 100% of the time, but I'll do what I can.
No, that's fantastic.
Now,
with where dermatology is right now, where do you think the future of dermatology care is going in the near future, the mid future, and what's coming up? Where do you think that's going?
Well, I think like any other disease processes or organ, like hearts, right? We go to get our heart healthy, we work out, we eat right? And, we can say that about every organ in the body, but here you got the skin, the largest organ, right? And so many people see it as more of a cosmetic thing, right? So I really believe the tables are turning now to get people to understand that skin health, not necessarily just from an aesthetic standpoint, but skin health from a medical standpoint is essential. We have to keep our skin barrier healthy. We have to protect it, because that makes you more susceptible to other disease processes, right? The skin cancers, a number of things. And so I feel like there's a lot of shifting going to prevention. And prevention meaning, of course, we know the sunscreens and the, avoidance of sun and smoking and drinking, enough water and all that, skin health. But it's also utilizing the tools that we have. It's those radiofrequency microneedlings. It's those fractionated lasers that can, which are FDA approved, some of them, the one we have, to actually treat precancerous lesions. So we use those tools. I have a lot of lasers in my office. I have microneedling. I have the body, tightening, skin tightening, resurfacing lasers, all kind, tattoo removals, all that kind of stuff. But what I find is that for a lot of medical conditions, I'm able to really bring those machines into play as well. And our insurance is going to cover some of those radiofrequency microneedlings. No, but it's so important just to keep your skin healthy. It's an important thing to continue with collagen growth and elastin growth. And it's like, you make that big initial investment of a car, right? And then never doing any maintenance on it, and then you've got your skin, you get one chance at this, right? Maintenance is important. And so I feel like there's a lot of shifting, and this is why I believe that the gold standard right now of skin care or health, aside from SPF and the products that we can use, is doing something like the radiofrequency microneedling. It's just a great maintenance of your skin.
Okay, and I think you bring up a very fascinating point, Suzanne, is that the prevention part of it, and that's where the future is going to be. Because when I think of either dermatology or the aesthetic side of it, I kind of look at it like very polar, like almost polar opposites. Like people that look at the aesthetic side, it's like, it's just for aesthetics. The ones that come from the dermatology side, it's, I have a problem, I need this fixed. But there's very few that come from the middle section where it's like, okay, like, yeah, it's good to have the aesthetic side, but what about the prevention side? So I think you brought up a fascinating point that I think a lot of people would really be able to take advantage of. Is it is a lot more like, it's like a car, like it's the one car you get for the rest of your life. Like you can't trade it in, you can't upgrade it. It's, you got to take care of it.
Yeah.
So I think you brought up a very good point about that. Now, Suzanne, I do have one last question for you, but before I ask it, I want to point people to your website at www.ascdermcare.com. Now, my last question is, what do you think is the most important piece of advice you can give to somebody who is thinking about getting some type of aesthetic service or some type of preventative dermatology service, but something is stopping them? And maybe it's price, maybe they just on education, but what do you think is the most important thing you can say to someone like that to get them to cross over and make that decision, make that leap?
So, you know, I love, a lot of people don't do this, but I offer the free consultations, right? I think it's important. If someone's even remotely thinking about it, my doors are open to come for free, to come and ask me about it. I think it's important that people, yes, cost is a factor for sure. Don't always go with the cheapest, right? Yeah. You have to know your injector. Don't pay for the actual product, include the experience in the injector in that. But I think it's very important. You know, there's so much on social media nowadays, right? It can't quite replace coming in, telling me your concerns, telling me what you're looking for. And you know, you hope that you find someone that will work to listen to you, that will work to your needs, your desires, your needs, and what you can really afford at the time or what you're willing to do at the time, right? And we do that. We set a journey up. We say, hey, this may not be something that you want to do right now, but in the future, you should consider this because that's up to them. You know, so I think it's really important. I think you get a lot of misconceptions by just social media. Come in, meet your injector, take a look at the office that we work on. More importantly, bring your list of questions and concerns, and I'm happy to take whatever questions and concerns you have and explain my answers. So I think that's really important. Perfect. Don't just take social media words for it,
Verify yourself.
Yes, right.
Okay,
that's right.
Perfect. Well, there you have it. Suzanne Freesemann of Advanced Skincare sharing her experience with everybody. Suzanne, where can people learn more about or contact you in your practice?
So on our website, again, www.ascdermcare.com. Our Instagram has a lot of things. It's advancedskincare.fullerton. And of course, you can give us a call, 714-879-9936. We're in Fullerton, North Orange County.
Great. Again, Suzanne, thanks for being on the show, sharing your message with everybody. It's amazing to have you here.
Thank you, Daniel, so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Beauty Talk podcast. Any questions, please contact the practice directly with the contact information provided during the show. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.